Yeah, it's good to see everybody. This is amazing. This has been something that it's been sort of in the works in seed form as for a long time. So it's amazing that this is happening. This is great. It's really good to see everyone. Um, okay, so yeah, I'll just start talk a little bit about um, what I've kind of put in place. Um, and really, this training, I've broken it into three parts. I see it there as being three distinct parts, and really, I'm just going to play it by ear with this. I've never done this before. It's going to be an ongoing learning experience. But the three parts. So this first part is really going to be just the big picture of what we're doing in these dyads, and then I'll be going into the technique. So really today it's going to be all about just the technique and getting people to work with the technique. And then part two of the training is going to be the pointing. So pointing directly at your nature. So today we're not going to get into that at all. It's a different thing, and it's not something that is really teachable. Actually, it's something that just sort of naturally comes online. There are some little tips and tricks that Lila and I've come up with for it. But really, with the dyads, the technique really just works. The technique is amazing, and whether we do pointing or not, the technique is going to work. So ultimately, that's something that will come online for some people, and for others, it may not feel right. So we'll get into that pointing part of it next time. Um, and then I thought there would be a third session, which we haven't scheduled yet, but session three will be specifically for those who are interested in hosting and creating their own retreats, and it'll be just all I'll just be sharing what I've learned about the logistics of that, and what needs to be in place for that, if there are people who are interested in that. And as we go through this process, so we have several things in the works. So we have an app that's coming, the I Am app, which is it's an app that people can go in. The idea is that eventually people will be able to hook up with a dyad partner anytime, anywhere in the world, in any language, and um, and then different facilitators can schedule their time to be in that app. So that's something we'll talk about as well. It'll be its own separate thing, but it's really we want to set up a whole system where the donations going in, if you're facilitating, then those donations will go to the facilitator. So it'll be a way to for there to be an exchange as well. Um, and yeah, lots in the works. So those things we'll talk about next year. Also, at the facilitators, uh, once you become a facilitator, it, it would be amazing, if anyone is interested in attending the live retreats at the Samadhi Center next year. Um, it would be a huge help for Lila and I as well. And our hope is that there will be some momentum here as people get involved, and if that's something you're drawn to, that's amazing. And yeah, and then there's no obligation for any of this. This is free training, no commitment. So we're gonna offer lots of little possibilities, and it's up to you to bite at those possibilities. So let's see here. Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to mention also for June, I think most people here have said they're going to attend the June retreat. So I'll be sending out a free access to that June retreat for anyone who's going to be helping with the facilitation as well. So there'll be a special, like a promo code for that. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, Alex brought this to my attention. The document I shared, I was cutting and pasting, and there are a few things that are referring to the I Am app in that document that I shared. So just ignore anything that's talking about the app. It's not really relevant here. It's the same instructions for the app, but it had a few more details there. So today the flow is we're going to go from now until about 1:45, and then we're going to take a 15-minute break. That'll let the participants join. So right now I'm going to talk for about an hour to go over what I see as the most important points. Then we can do roughly 45-minute Q&A after that. Or however long it takes, but there's a hard cutoff at 1:45. So what'll happen then is the participants will come in. You'll start working with the participants, and Lila and I will jump into the room and sort of shadow you as that's happening. And then after the 2 hours with the participants, we'll do a little debrief and just see how it goes, or see how it has gone. So yeah, maybe I'll start out. I'd like to just talk a little bit about some of the big picture stuff. I'd like to maybe start out by just recognizing some of the inherent pitfalls in what we're trying to do here. As with all attempts to pass on the perennial teaching, there's an inherent challenge to systematizing every process of awakening. So here we want to, the technique is what it is. The technique is really a reflection of the Dharma, which, there are aspects to it that are sort of immutable, or just the truth of the way things are within this realm or matrix. So there are things that are, just are as they are, and yet they can be expressed in countless different ways. So so there are things that we can learn, or we can point towards, but yet there are also things that will become your own as you move through this process. Your unique way of expressing, and that the aliveness of who you are will more and more come through in this process. And for me, there's no other thing on the planet, no other work or sadhana that is as powerful for me as facilitating dyads. If you want to stay awake, to accelerate the path, I find there's nothing better than facilitating other people's self-inquiry. So as we move through this process, we want to make sure that the conditioned self isn't creating an identity around these teachings, or the role that we're going to be engaged in. So there's a sense that we're playing this role. It's in the Charles Berner book, and in the Charles Berner world in general, sometimes there are these labels. They use this label of enlightenment master, and that can be a sticky one. I think I stay away from all that stuff. So there are things in that tradition and that world that um, are not, I find are just not necessary. I think if we take on a role of enlightenment master, that's a pretty big shoes to fill. So better to um, just there's a spontaneous draw to this. I think there, for all of us, there's just an energy to engage with this, and that's really all this is. So yeah, so what I really want to point towards as we go through today, there all of us have had some experience with the benefits of this technique, and I think everyone who's here has had some degree of real personal benefit awakening through this process. And I think the main thing I've always tried to convey at the retreats is, the difference between experiences and the truth of who you are. And so this, as we start working with participants, people have all kinds of experiences. So one of the things that starts to happen is when people work with this technique for a long time, they'll start to have merging experiences, experiences of union, experiences of energy waking up. It's like the jhanas in meditation, like the meditative absorption experiences. Um, so it's important, um, to allow that to be as it is. It's just phenomena that unfolds in this process. Um, and we want to be clear always that we're pointing to the truth of who we are that is ever present. So these experiences are beautiful, beautiful peak experiences, direct experience where the I may, the true self may be coming online more and more for someone, and they enter into these blissful states or states of peace and presence. Um, and it's just, the most important thing is not to mistake any phenomena surrounding that for the truth of who we are. Um, and to make that clear to the participants as well. So the mind, if we enter into this blissful state, and the state comes and goes, the first thing a participant will do is, the mind will be seeking that state, that phenomena. But we always want to make it clear that who you are is the one who is always here, always present, the knower of those states. And these are things that may come up sometimes. Participants may ask direct questions, or if we're um, even if you're working with someone, like a family member or a friend, these are little things that when they land, it can um, really help to bring about the end of that seeking, mind. So part of the job of the facilitator is to just inspire the participants, to be a unique expression, to just be you. Essentially, that is of anything in this process, just being an example, just letting um, your truth, your unique expression come through when you're explaining it for people. Um, so in a way, it's almost like as a facilitator, you're you're sort of doing self-inquiry all the time. You're knowing who you are and being who you are for the group, essentially. Um, so the group is essentially witness to you. Um, so you don't need to make that explicit, obviously, but that's sort of what's happening. Um, so there's this, as with everything, there's a sort of middle way. There's a spontaneity, and at the same time, there's an understanding of the technique, which is something learned. And to me, it's kind of like the way we operate with music, where as a musician, it's helpful to learn the notes and the technique and all of that. Um, but when it comes time to really play, and that's what the dyads are. It's an opportunity to play, and so we're not, if we want to be a musician, we don't want to be thinking about what note is coming next. We're not going to be thinking about the technique when we're in the playing. Somehow, all of this conditioned knowledge is just absorbed. It becomes part of the self structure. It changes the instrument, and so that the expression can just flow through when it's meant to. Um, so I like the music analogy. Um, so yeah, so if we're really thinking about the technique, it can become sort of robotic and uh, and yeah, kind of stiff. So I'm gonna go through um, yeah, just what I see as the most important things that I've learned. So I would say number one, this is whenever we're speaking to participants, in the training, or if we're explaining the process, we're not really speaking to the character. So we're always speaking to the true self when we're interacting with the participant. So it's important for the facilitators to sort of see past the conditioned mind. Um, so in other words, to stay awake, seeing if our own conditioning starts to become active, or triggers are there. This is why it's such an amazing process, because we, as facilitators, sometimes, depending on what unfolds, we can deepen our own knowledge of our own character, and there can be a clearing process for the facilitator as well. Um, so with participants, as the hindrances come up, the pain body can come up, the same hindrances that we face in meditation and other forms of sadhana. Um, so, so when this is happening, whatever is coming up for the participant, our job is not to change anything. Our job is not to take anyone's pain away. We're not trying to get rid of these hindrances for people. So whatever's coming up for the participant, it's important to recognize whether we're resisting that in some way, or if we're showing some aversion to what's coming up for them. We want to, like as with ourselves, with our own process, we want to simply let everything be as it is. And if there's one thing I always come back to. It's as it is. Just let everything unfold, let everything be exactly as it is. And if the hindrances are coming up, it's just a sign that people are working correctly. It's expected. It's exactly what needs to happen. Um, so when you get participants reacting, coming face to face with the ego, it's our job to just remain equanimous, and really just keep pointing them back to the technique. That's it. Just keep them going back to the technique. The technique is brilliant. The technique will allow everything to resolve. So by remaining neutral, not reacting, you're actually demonstrating the truth to them directly, not getting caught in whatever little dramas come up. And really, there's no instruction for that. How do we remain equanimous? How do we not react? This is the paradox. The mind wants to know, but it's just knowing who you are, just knowing that you are not the conditioned mind. And by knowing who you are, somehow it becomes more clear who another is, who the participants are. They're not, the more awake we are, the more we just see through the facade of the various personas. So we're not evaluating or analyzing or judging what's coming up for a participant as good or bad. And yeah, so this is a very unique position. When somebody sees what's coming up for them as a problem, we just don't buy into the mind agenda. So just as we don't believe our thoughts, we don't believe other people's thoughts as well. We're not going to agree or disagree with them. In many ways, we're in the same position as the witness in the dyad process. The facilitator is witnessing what is unfolding as we've put these conditions of no escape in place. So one thing I'll mention, so today we have a 2-hour session with the participants. And generally, at the beginning of a weekend retreat or in shorter sessions, we generally just allow people to work with the technique. At the beginning, participants are usually just clearing for most of the session. It's quite rare for someone to come to that threshold where the pointing will be valuable. Usually, it's after about a day or 24 hours to about 35 hours that is the period where people really start to come to that threshold of awakening, where the pointing is useful. So today we probably won't. I should say, there's if the impulse there is there to point someone, then if there's an authentic impulse, then of course go with it. But just know that it's fairly rare. For the most part, we want to allow people's stuff to come up. So if we start that pointing too early in the process, and by pointing I mean those phrases like who's aware of that, who's aware of the mind, who's breathing, who's smiling, or whatever it is we can point towards. And we'll be talking about that in the next session more. But we 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 just want to um, allow people to sort of identify or go into their stuff, to allow the samskaras to come up at the beginning. If we go into that pointing too quickly, then we bypass, and it's actually not productive to do that. We It can confuse people, or it can encourage the ego to sort of figure out what it is the facilitator wants, rather than directly experiencing who we are. So this clearing process really has to happen at the beginning, and that's how the mind will settle. Um, so in some ways, the most important thing, learning to facilitate, the biggest thing I had to learn, at the beginning, I really, I didn't do a lot of pointing. And then once I really started to get the pointing, then I went to the other extreme, and I was pointing too much. Um, so yeah, there's a middle way with it. Um, we want to make sure that people are really doing the technique correctly. So these two parts of the technique are really important. We want to um, intend to directly experience who we are, and then remain open to whatever comes up as a result of that inquiry. Um, so those two parts are critical. So if we just stay with the intention to keep inquiring directly, but we don't allow that clearing to happen, um, then it doesn't work. It just we just quite often the mind will get quite frustrated if that is happening as well. So yeah, so we really want to allow that clearing process to happen. Um, today I'll be, we always mention the use of words like I, me, and mine, um, and that these words, they reinforce the identification with the false I. Um, so at the beginning, we're not going to really police these words. We're not going to be like the language police at the beginning. Later on, we make the conditions of no escape stronger. But at the beginning, we want people to become conscious of the use of these words, but at the same time, we don't want to completely shut down the use of the word I or me or mine. Um, for the same reason, sometimes there are things that need to come up in this process. And, there sometimes can be a necessary identification in order to see a pattern that's in play, or a belief that's in play. There sometimes is a sense that it's me. There's this sense that, you know, uh, I am angry, or I'm holding on to this, and it's like the full expression of that ego I has to come up um, in this process in order to be cleared, in order to let go of it. So it's an interesting thing, with all of these pointers. It's never an absolute. So we're telling people, to really examine the use of the word I or me or mine, to only use those words when it's true. Is it true that I am angry, or that I'm feeling this or that? What does that I refer to? So we want to go into it, um, and yet we don't want to just tell people, that you're not that character, you're not that I. You're just the awareness here. If we just tell people that, it's only being received on the level of the conditioned mind. So we don't want to go right to that. We have to go through this process. Um, so the I thought, the false I, has to come to the surface to be seen clearly. The deep samskaras and traumas have to come up, be fully felt and experienced. So it's like we, in this process, in a weekend retreat, after about a day and a half, it's like people are finding their own way to the edge of the cliff. And it's only when they're teetering on the edge of the cliff, that's when we give them these little nudges. That's when we will say things like, who is aware of that? Who's aware of the mind? So, we can say, who does that I refer to? Who is that I? And you'll intuitively know when the time is right. So, yeah, it's like Ramana Maharshi said, we turn towards the self, we investigate into the self, and at the beginning, it will always be the false self. It will always be the false I. So when we give that imperative, in that moment, um, tell me who you are. This intention is there to directly experience who we are. And either one of two things will always happen. There's only one of two things that can happen. Either some phenomena will come up within the self structure, which can be shared, or the participant will have a direct experience of their nature. So it'll be either the true self or the false self in that direct inquiry. So if people are working correctly with the technique, generally we just don't interfere. As a facilitator, the technique does all the work. It's amazing how it just sort of sinks deeper and deeper. And really, the less we interact with people, especially at the beginning, the better, as long as they're doing the technique correctly. So we just allow them to go, allow them to experience their pain, joy, whatever's coming up. There's no problems to fix. You don't need to console people. Sometimes empathic people will, want to console somebody. But the most compassionate thing you can do is to let someone move through their process consciously on their own. Sometimes we describe the awakening process as it's a little bit like making popcorn. If you put all the popcorn kernels in, and there's usually a few kernels that pop faster than the others. But there's it's like a bell curve, and the popcorn will start popping. Most of the popcorn will pop within the same time frame, and it's kind of like that with the retreats. It's like it's contagious. Once one or two people have had an awakening, it's different at every retreat. It's like where that bell curve happens is a little bit different at each retreat. But generally, once one or two people start awakening, it's like it becomes contagious. People just start to get it. over the decades, facilitators have kept track of the numbers of people who've had awakenings. Um, I made a little video um, on the 8 signs of Kensho. If you haven't seen that video, I'll be sharing that with you. I think it's important for facilitators to um, really recognize the signs of awakening in the participants. So I'm not going to get into that today, but we want to reflect it back as best we can to the participants. Um, in the Consciousness of Truth manual, Charles Berner says it is possible to facilitate, to just teach the technique without, you don't have to recognize the awakening in the participants, but it's more powerful. It can help them to really stabilize their awakening and ground in the truth of who they are. And we want to really, to me, I want to get people clear on the fundamental delusion of the mind. The fundamental delusion of the mind is that it has to somehow find the truth. Once they get that, when you deliver, when that imperative is delivered, tell me who you are. If the mind looks for an answer, then that's not it. They haven't reached the end of seeking. So there's the fundamental delusion is that the mind can do it somehow, that the mind can find an answer or the truth. Once they reach that clarity, allowing the mind to be a don't know mind, just an open mind, that is really the turning point. Then they can continue to inquire. It doesn't matter if they're in dyads or on their own, but they know that the mind is mediating, and that they start to understand the falseness of that delusion. So in that moment when someone is having an awakening, quite often it's when the mind has become quiet, but we want to, the mind will inevitably start producing thoughts again. So we want to be clear, that when the thoughts come back, it's not the mind state that matters. The mind can be quiet, the mind can be active, but who is the one who is aware of the mind, in all of its states? And that's what we keep coming back to. So once someone has had a glimpse of awakening, or more than a glimpse, really there's no further instruction at that point. The instruction is to simply let them be as they are. Often I'll just say, just be you. The mind doesn't have to search anymore. This is the end of seeking. And you were always right here. And when someone has an awakening, you can ask them questions to verify to yourself whether they are awake. You can ask things like, have you always been here? And that can make it clear. If they're describing a merging experience, an energetic experience, then they're this is a jhana level or savakalpa samadhi, and you just allow it to be as it is. They're beautiful peak experiences, but keep going. Who is the knower of that experience? It's usually definitive. When you say, who is aware? And they say, I am. And you'll know when the I am is an authentic I am. Um, the words themselves aren't always true. One person can say, I am, and it's the ego. Another will say, I am, and you'll feel the truth. You'll feel the aliveness, the presence in that. Yeah, so um, yeah, I'm not going to get into any more about what awakening is. Um, I'm going to go into the technique just so we have fully time to explore that. Um, so I'm going to switch over to the sheet that I gave out. Okay. Okay, so obviously one of the big things when we enter into the dyads, silence is maintained. So as a facilitator, the participants should only be asking each other who is going to be the inquirer or who is going to be the witness. Um, any chatting will activate the mind and it will be counterproductive. So if people are chatting, we want to correct that. Um, Sometimes people aren't clear that they have to switch back and forth continuously. It doesn't matter how many times you say it. There's always one or two people who, for some reason, they don't get that you just switch back and forth um, continuously for the 40-minute period. So that's something that has to be mentioned sometimes. Um, in the technique, the witness connects to their genuine desire to want to know who their partner is. Um, it's important that it's not just mechanical. We want to convey that. That it's important to really want to know who your partner is. We want to make sure that they're giving the imperative correctly. So it's tell me who you are, as opposed to who are you. Or sometimes people will add little things to it. So they'll say, can you tell me who you are? Which changes it. It changes the feeling. It turns it into a question rather than an imperative. So we want to make sure that they're um, working with the imperative. It's subtle, but it's extremely important. Um, and of course, the witness listens without speaking or nodding. Um, and the witness will maintain continuous eye contact. Um, the witness can say, can you clarify that, please? If they don't understand, that's the only thing they can say to their partner. Um, Sometimes people will, um, you know, rather than not understanding something, it's like they're probing for more information, or so sometimes people can use, can you clarify that, please? They'll use it incorrectly. Rather than just trying to clarify themselves, it's like they're trying to prompt their partner. So we want to kind of make sure that they're not doing that. Um, so yeah, if the witness is not being a neutral witness, we can just gently point out, um, that they're moving or they're nodding. There's some body language happening. Sometimes people will say mm-hmm, or there'll be these little audio cues as well. So we just want to make all of that conscious. So the neutrality of the witness is what allows this clearing process to happen. So when when the person doing the inquiry begins, they intend to directly know themselves. So at that point, they can go inward, they can close their eyes. And one thing that is quite common is that they'll just start talking with their eyes closed. But we want them to reconnect with their partner. So if they start talking with their eyes closed, we can just gently encourage them to connect with their partner's eyes. And I find when giving someone an instruction, the tone of voice, just a gentleness, is important. There's sometimes a reactivity, so we don't want to convey a tone where it's like you're doing something wrong. It's just like a little gentle reminder that just comes out of the ether, you know. Um, and we want to, when we're conveying to people how this works, again, it's when we're in the direct inquiry, we're not looking for awareness with the conditioned mind. So we simply recognize that I amness or beingness or presence that is always already present. And so the second part of the technique is to remain open to whatever comes up as a result of the inquiry. Being open really means just not having preconceived ideas. Sometimes people will be formulating responses. So when someone receives the imperative and they just start talking right away, and they don't do the first part, they don't intend to directly experience who they are. They haven't taken that time. You can point to that. You can really make that conscious. If somebody just starts talking right away, guaranteed they're not really doing the inquiry part of it. They're just doing the sharing part of it. So get them to slow down, get them to go inward. And the conditioned mind, it always comes up for people. They'll say, I don't know how to do that. And of course, the conditioned mind doesn't know how to do that. It has to be a don't know mind. It has to be a not knowing mind. So that's okay. If when people say that, just make it clear that's okay. You don't have to know. Just intend. All you have to do is intend to directly experience. You don't have to. The mind doesn't have to know how or to make it happen. There's this intention or a longing or whatever that is, the primordial impulse to awaken. That's what we want to stay with directly, that I amness or beingness. And sometimes in the sharing process, people will get the idea that what's coming up in the mind and body is not important. Sometimes they'll say nothing is happening, and if you probe deeper, um, they'll say, well, there's some thoughts coming up and some sensations, but it's just thoughts. It's just whatever. But that's what we want to share. We want to make it clear that whatever comes up as a result of the inquiry, um, that's what gets shared with the partner. It does. So if we can catch the thoughts, catch the feelings and really share them. This is what initiates that clearing process. So, so sometimes people will get too caught in, what's coming up and they identify with it, or they become totally dismissive of what's coming up and they just negate it or push it away. So again, we want to find that middle way, just allowing everything to unfold, but within a space of consciousness. So yeah, so when people are ready to speak, they're reestablishing eye contact with the partner is important. We want to distinguish between phenomena that comes up as a result of the inquiry and just mundane phenomena. So, sometimes you hear people and, maybe they're hungry or, they have a pain in their knee or whatever, it's just always there. We want to avoid just giving a weather report of sensations or mundane phenomena. So, what is it that has arisen as a result of intending to directly know who you are? So when you inquire, what moves in the mind and body? That's what we want to share. And we encourage people to try to have a balanced amount of sharing versus witnessing with their partner. The typical dyad period is roughly 5 to 7 minutes. If you find that someone is, really trying to get off the hook too quickly, they feel like they have nothing to share, and their turn is only maybe a minute or 2 minutes. You can encourage them to continue to go deeper. You could, just ask some probing questions. They sometimes people when they get stuck, they just might say, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated. So you at that point, like today in the dyad session, if you see that, a probing question could be something like, if someone says, I'm feeling stuck, then, what does that feel like in the body? Where is that? How do you know that you're feeling stuck? Does that stuckness have a location in the body? Go into the phenomena that is arising in that moment. And when we go into the body, sometimes there can be these energy blocks. And when people make that conscious, then very quickly it will start to move again. So yeah, so people will be going back and forth in this process. So there's a few other instructions here. Yes, so sometimes you'll catch people referring to their partner in some way. So if someone is referring to something that their partner said previously, or they're referring to their partner, in some way that's personal. So they say you or yours, or you're looking at me as if whatever, whatever's coming up. If we don't want to directly refer to the partner in a personal way, or to anything that they've said. It's not a conversation. And again, words like I, me, and mine. You could, sometimes if someone is stuck and they're using the word I, a little probing question, you could say, who is that I? What is that? You just use the word I. What does that I refer to? And sometimes that can open things up. And yeah, other than that, at the retreats, we encourage people not to nap. Obviously, the mind will um, start to let go in all different ways, and the blockages or hindrances that come up are different for each person. So tiredness is a common one. We don't want to give in to any of these hindrances. We just allow them to be there. So, so tiredness can come up. Confusion is another big one. These are signs that the person is working correctly. Um, so we just allow it. We don't react to any of these hindrances. Um, and then, it's when the mind's defenses are down. Really, it's the best time to do the inquiry. When someone is quiet, when the mind is tired, when it's confused, not knowing, this is really the best time for inquiry. So, it's the time when people are also most likely to give up or to give in to the ego because it's not comfortable. So, so we're just gently helping people to move beyond their comfort zones, beyond the physical comfort and into a don't know mind, into the space of not knowing. And I think I have a few more things. So, yeah, so today we have you all as co-hosts. So you're going to be able to freely move in and out of breakout rooms. And when we go into the session, just pick a room with two people in it. Just jump into the room, just hang out there, see what's going on, and just notice if people are using the technique correctly. See if there's anything that needs to be corrected, and just yeah, just, probably there won't be opportunities for pointing today, but um, I'll leave that to your intuition. Um, at the most, we might want to just poke people or probe if they're getting stuck, pointing them into the body, into deeper exploration. Um, so one thing when we join the Zoom session, you want to keep all of the facilitators will keep our um, video turned off. Um, so when you're in with the dyad participants, it's better to just be in the background. Um, and you just turn your audio on when you're going to speak. Um, So the breakout rooms button, people have all different devices, and we've learned that these buttons are in different places on different devices. So if you don't see a breakout rooms button at the bottom, it's usually under a little tab that says more, or there's like three little dots. You click on the three little dots, and usually in there you'll see an expanded menu, and you'll see where those breakout rooms are. And finally, while we're in the dyads, if you have any questions or issues, you can message me, and we can meet in the main room. So if you're in a breakout room, you just click on leave room, and then you'll be back in the main area, the main room. So if there's anything coming up, um, there's sometimes people will slip through the cracks. As participants, there might be people who are just not able to follow the technique, or they've got something going on. We've had all kinds of different scenarios with people. So if there's something that out of the ordinary happening, then please reach out to either myself or Lila, or let Alex and Tayama know Alex and Tayama are going to be the tech hosts, and they're also going to be facilitating at times as well if there's not much happening in the tech hosting realm, and they'll be jumping into dyads as well. So yeah, so I think that's really, I think that, let me just make sure I've covered what I wanted to cover for now. And if there's anything, yeah, why don't we take a little short, like 3-minute washroom break, and then we can come back and just connect. And if there's any questions or anything coming up, then we'll dive into it. So I'll see you in 3 minutes.
Can anybody give me some quick advice? I want to change my picture. This is Lisa. I've got this alligator. It doesn't look like a good facilitator photo to have up. So I'm
Okay.
trying to do it while I'm in the on Zoom, and I go under and it says edit profile picture, and then it offers me to change the picture, but I can't I can't find anything to change it to. It just comes up with some files.
Hmm. Can you do you have any, do you have another picture that you want to replace it with?
Not that I know. I was just going to go to a blank, to a blank,
Yeah.
and
You know, it's okay. It's cute. It
Are
doesn't.
you sure? It
Oh
looks
yeah.
like I'm going to eat the dyad or something.
No, it's fine. It's
Okay.
fine. I
All
wouldn't
right. If you
worry
think
about it.
it's okay, I'm good with it. I just didn't.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Is everyone here? So I'll just let everyone turn on their videos here so we know you're back.
Are there how many dyads are there going to be? In other words, are there less facilitators than there are dyads, or
So there's going to be an instruction for the participants, and I'm not sure how many participants. So there'll be probably last time there was 100, and we have the
oh my
large
gosh,
we have the large Zoom meeting now. So last
oh,
time we had maxed out on our old account. So I would say over 100 people probably coming
great,
at 2 o'clock. So so there will be lots of people to work with for sure. So yeah,
thanks.
yeah,
Hey, Dan.
yes,
So, how do we, ha you said you can just kind of, as a facilitator, you can go in and out of breakout rooms,
yes,
but, but does that mean that there'll be some dyads that don't have a facilitator potentially? And could
that's
we end
right.
up with multiple facilitators in one dyad?
Well, so if you see a dyad, you'll see like we'll break it into rooms. So you'll
Right,
see like room two, it'll say the names of the participants in room two. So if you see there are three people in there, it means
right.
there's
Okay,
another facilitator in there. So
okay,
yeah, so just pick a room with two people,
okay,
and then Lila and I will be jumping in. So sometimes there'll be four people in a room because we'll be just hanging out as well. And yeah. Yeah, and what happens with these rooms right at the beginning, it's a bit of a frenzy sometimes because for some reason Zoom doesn't always divide it up correctly. So there's rooms with just one person in it, and Tayama and Alex, their job is to get the solo people and match them up. And during the first few minutes, there's some shuffling happening and they're taking care of that. So
okay. The question is that, so the participants have already or will have already been instructed on the technique.
yes, so the first part of when the participants arrive, I'm going to play the little instructional video. I'm going to give them the pointers again in case there's people who have never done it. So maybe the first half hour is just going to be instructional, and then we'll have two 40-minute dyad sessions after that.
Okay.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, good questions.
So as facilitators, our job is not to instruct them on the technique, but just to remind them on the technique if necessary.
Exactly, yes. And sometimes they will ask you if you're in the room, if you're a facilitator, they will ask you direct questions. So there may be times where you're just asked to explain the technique or
Mhm.
to go into it more in depth. So if you're asked directly, then just go with it. So yeah, but generally, yeah, today, like we'll just be playing the instructions and I'll be giving some pointers at the beginning, and that's pretty
Okay.
much it. Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
Hmm. Hmm.
And do we introduce ourselves?
Um, no, you don't need to. When you go into the breakout rooms, no, you'll be. Oh, I see your Zoo is not. Yeah, if you can change your name to facilitator as well, so that people know you're a facilitator, and then they just know that you're in the background as well. So
So the point of this exercise is just to witness silently what's going on without speaking, just and then going in and out at our own will.
Yeah, to hang out and to correct anything in with the technique. So if they're doing the technique incorrectly, if they're really confused, they don't understand it. Sometimes people will they think they just have to do it once, and then they just sit there and they start talking, or all kinds of weird things happen. So when it's beginners, you'll have a really good sense when they're not doing it correctly. It'll be really obvious, and you can just jump in, and and sometimes people will maybe not respond for a long period of time. That they may receive the imperative and they're just sitting there and nothing is happening. So if a few minutes go by, you can say, tell us who you are, or as I mentioned, just probe a little bit. If somebody's really stuck, or they're confused, like, what does that feel like? What does confusion feel like? Are there thoughts or sensations associated with that? And just start to, it can just help to unlock people a little bit just by probing a bit. Yeah, so the main things are, I've put them on the instruction sheet there. Let me just see here.
Where is this instruction sheet?
Um,
In our email? Or
yeah, that's the one on the email. So yeah, so just making sure that they're not chatting, make sure that they're doing the technique and only doing the technique. Sometimes you'll see their lighting isn't correct, or their camera is totally askew. So you could, if there's simple technical issues, you can address those as well, just so that people can see each other's eyes. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, so you just have to leave it. Um, if you're in the dyad, you want to make sure that the witness is being a neutral witness. So if somebody's nodding all the time, or going then you can point that out to them. Just let them know that the job of the witness is to be a neutral witness. The other thing I think it's really common. People will receive the imperative and they go inward, and then they just start talking with their eyes closed. But we want them to reconnect with their partner's eyes as well. So if you see somebody just talking with their eyes closed, just gently ask them to, just reconnect with your partner's eyes. So those are the types of things. And yeah, reporting any unusual phenomena to us as well. It's amazing what can happen sometimes.
okay, thank you.
And I noticed that some people sign off and came back in, so they're no longer co-hosts. So we have to add them manually again. It's important for everybody to remain logged in for the next session, because this has to be done one by one manually, and Dan has to do it.
Yeah,
So
I'm just making them co-host right now.
okay.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, that's
Right.
great.
The other piece, Dan, maybe do we have time? Could we just create a few breakout rooms? People could practice moving in and out of the room so they can know where to find the button and see how they can see. Like, we could just create a few breakout rooms.
That's a great idea.
Could
Yeah,
practice it ahead of time so they're not fumbling, looking for how to do that.
yeah, that sounds great. So yeah, why don't we do that? If we'll do that right after questions. So I'll make sure we leave some time at the end for that. That's a great idea.
I noticed Sue still hasn't changed her name. The host could do that. The host can change. Oh, she just did it. Never
Oh,
mind. Sorry.
There we go. Okay, great.
Jerome needs to put facilitator on his as well. Jerome.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jerome, if you can add facilitator after your name, that would be
Yes, so how do I go about doing that?
Just click on, like under participants, click on your own name. There's
got it.
like three little dots there, and it'll just say
Yeah.
rename on there. Mhm.
Okay.
Great. Bill,
Dan?
did you have a
Oh,
question? Yeah.
I did. I had a comment and a question. One of the things that's been very well received in facilitating for the many that I did for the last retreat and that we did together was I would just introduce myself without a video, of course. Hi, I'm here to support you in your dyad, and that would just be sort of the voice becomes a support, and it's been very well received. And I have a question that I've noticed several times happen when participants, when someone that is reporting, they actually have an awakening, they have or a pretty significant glimpse.
Mhm.
It's you can see it and feel it,
Yeah.
and then they go back into the mind
Yeah.
in reporting. And what's your suggestion with that?
Hmm. So whatever this is where the intuition it really whatever you can do to get them to be conscious of what just happened. So sometimes I'll explicitly point out what just happened. Like someone, you might say, who's aware of the mind, and they'll say, I am. And then they seem awake. They're right there. And then the mind comes back and starts moving. And then so that's an opportunity to say, you know what just happened there. When you said I am, there was a change in the energy. Get them to become actually conscious of what just happened. And in that moment you can ask, did the mind just come back? Did your mind come back? What thoughts were being produced? What's happening in the mind right now? And get them to see the mechanism, because once they see the mechanism, they can actually catch that themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I did that, and some other intuitive ideas came because I mean I saw that happen at least a half a dozen times.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And yeah, that's what happens. People will get a glimpse, and the mind, and until the mind really understands its limitation in this process, it'll just keep interrupting. It'll keep that flip will keep happening. And
Right.
eventually, if we can get someone to the point where the mind can come back, the mind can generate thoughts, but you recognize the presence of the self even when the mind is generating thoughts. um, that's an amazing place to get people to, so they're not worried that, oh, my mind's going to come back, I'm going to lose it. That's the common thing that happens. So if we can understand that it actually, being awake transcends, but it also includes that mind that is generating the thoughts. So it's not this or that, it's always this and that.
Right. Thank
Mhm.
you. One more thing. Someone in the last dyad that I facilitated, they didn't have a camera and they couldn't get their camera to work. And my recommendation was just go with the voice
Mhm.
because you're in a kind of a stuck situation.
Hmm. It's tricky. I'm not sure what to do in that case. I think, like, my feeling is that it is really important to look into someone's eyes. So I think like having a camera is like a bare minimum to be able to do these dyads. I think I
Well,
maybe.
you wouldn't disband it though, would you? You would let it because you're kind of there. The breakouts are set.
I
So you go into a room and only one camera's on, the other person can't get their camera to work
mhm.
and they try. I think you just sort of work with it.
Yeah, I guess just work with whatever you've got. It's not ideal. I think most people would probably just leave. you know, and try and
Yeah.
fix their camera or and come back, or, you know,
Okay.
at that point. So, because it's difficult, like with their partner as well. They're just looking at a blank screen, so it's
Yeah.
kind of yeah. I don't know how well it's going to work. So,
Right.
yeah, I would just encourage them to go into tech support mode and you know,
Right.
maybe connect with Tayama or Alex and see if they can help on the technical side as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Dan,
okay.
that's something you want to emphasize at the beginning before we go into breakout rooms. Make sure that your camera is working.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's a good reminder. I'm just writing that down. Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, sorry, I'm jumping ahead, but this is kind of in that same vein. Like when I do this kind of work, I've not been in a Dyad on the computer, but the same sort of thing. I always pin who I'm talking with. Instead of being able to see myself and that person, I pin their video when they're the witness or whatever.
Yes.
Do you ever encourage that sort of thing? That way you're just looking directly at the individual.
Yeah,
Or
so the video that we're going to show to the
it shows you.
participants, it actually explains how there's a feature called, like it says, turn off self view.
Yeah.
So so that's another way to do it as well. You can just turn off your own view, and then whoever's speaking other than you will always be there. So your partner will just be there. You won't see yourself ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay, good.
so that video will explain that. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, there's some logistics that video will cover, and it should be
Yeah.
pretty clear.
Sorry, trying to jump in your business.
Yeah, no, it's good. Good. All these things are important. Yeah, Agape.
Hey, Dan. Yeah, I just
Hey.
wanted to confirm that when we go into a dyad, it should be we should stay in it for the whole duration, right? Not jump in and out into other dyads until it's done.
No, you can jump around. You know, if you jump into a dyad and people are really kind of working correctly, and
Hmm.
you know, you hang out there, they're getting it, they're going deep into it, they don't really need facilitation, then yeah, just jump into another room and see what they're doing, and just feel free to float around. You know, there are some times where you'll just be drawn, or you'll intuitively feel that you want to stay in a dyad, and there's a reason to work with excuse me, to work with the participants. So yeah, that's just up to your own intuition.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Is there a recommendation on how long you want to stay to see if people are getting it?
You know, I usually go in and sometimes just you know, wait till both participants have had a
Gotcha.
chance. Yeah, so yeah, just you know, maybe you know, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, and just get a sense that they're both getting it.
Got it.
But I generally jump around quite a bit and just see what's going on and get, you know, glimpses as well. So there's no right or wrong to it. You know. I think there was a question from Lara in the notes here. I'll just address that. So she asked, as part of the initial instructions, would you tell them not to use I, me, or mine at the beginning? Yeah. So if you're instructing someone, which you won't be doing today, but you know, generally, what I do is get people to just become conscious of the use of I, me, and mine. So as we go deeper into a retreat scenario, then eventually we start to restrict the use of I, me, and mine. But at the beginning, you just bringing consciousness. You know, so when you use the word I, you know, what is that referring to? And just put it on their radar at the beginning, and then we put it on the radar a little more and more, and then eventually it's like, you know, it's becoming more and more clear that it's the false I when we're using that, and then we can stop using that language eventually. But that's usually much later in a retreat.
Yeah, really quickly,
Mhm.
when we
Mhm.
create the breakout rooms when the participants come in, which actually there are some participants here, so we Elma's thankfully caught that, so I stuck them in the waiting room.
Okay, great.
But how long are you going to have the sessions for? And I think it would be a good idea to create a couple of additional breakout rooms. So do you want me to do the breakout rooms at the beginning so I can add a couple? And then are you putting a 40-minute timer and they're changing partners? Like, are you doing a
Yeah, why don't we do the 40-minute partner? So,
Okay.
or 40-minute timer. So yeah, if you want to do that, that would be
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, I'll do the
Yeah.
rooms, set up a 40-minute timer, and then I can add a couple of breakout rooms, extra
Mhm.
ones, because I think we might need more than just the main room to have other people being helped.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
then
then
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah, yeah. If we, you know, if anyone has questions as well, they can message me, and if there are those extra breakout rooms, then we can just jump
Mhm.
into those rooms as well. So
Yeah. And then if we have people that come in late, is there anybody who's interested in if we need an extra dyad partner? I mean, because we have a lot of facilitators jumping in and out, but because sometimes people come in late, so before Alex and I would take turns just jumping into a room and doing a dyad with them. So I guess at that point I could just reach out if anybody's interested and if
yeah,
latecomers come in. Yeah.
yeah, or one of you two could jump in
Mhm.
as well.
Perfect.
That would be fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and there are times when so in the dyad sometimes as people are moving through their process, doesn't usually happen in the 2-hour sessions, but in the retreats sometimes people will be going into, you know, deep samskaras. There's things going on. People can sometimes be in a sort of crisis mode, and that's when we'll work one-on-one with people as well. So we might pull them out of the partner they're with and just start to work with them one-on-one. But it's very unlikely that's going to happen today, but you never know. So, yeah. Dominic, did you have another question there?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I thought that read somewhere that when the dyads come into their breakout room, they're already assigned who's going to be the witness and who's going to be the inquirer, or not? Is that not?
They're not. No,
They're
so that was my mistake. So the thing that I sent you had a little bit of stuff from our app that we're designing, and
Oh, okay.
the app was going to automatically do that at one point, but yeah, so just ignore that. So when they go in the dyad room, that's the only speaking they'll do, is to figure out who's going to be the witness.
Just decide. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks.
Mhm.
So, just a point of reference, when Tayama puts us in the breakout, when she opens the breakout rooms, we're all going to remain in the main room.
That's right.
We turn our video off at that point,
Yeah,
and we click on the more, and we find breakout rooms.
yes.
And that's where we locate the list for the breakout rooms. So
That's right.
there's a sort of a series of steps that takes place
Yes.
that we haven't talked about that we're all going to find in a minute.
Yeah. So why don't we
Why don't we do
yeah, why don't we do that right now? So yeah,
Okay.
so what's going to happen? Tayama's going to put us in breakout rooms. Yeah, so it'll be a little bit different right now because some of us are going to have to be in the rooms. Like normally the facilitators don't automatically go into the rooms. So normally we would just click on the breakout rooms and we see the rooms already set up. So yeah,
I'm just going to create 10 rooms.
okay,
And then I'm going to get pushed into a bunch of rooms. Then what I want you to do is hover over the little on your video, and then you can see that you'll be able to move. So just move around, come back to the main room, just practice moving to other rooms and coming back to the main room. Just go have some play. Go play. Here we go. Hi, Lisa.
Hey there.
Hi. Did you figure out how to move in and out of the rooms?
Not yet. I'm just seeing one breakout room. It just says
Okay.
breakout room 1.
Can you click on the more, on your 3 dots on the more, and click on breakout rooms? And then you should be
Yes.
able to see all the rooms.
Now I do see them somehow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to the right, you can say, oh, well, I want to move to.
Yeah, it'll say join and
Join.
yeah, so
Yeah.
you can
Okay.
join, and then when you're in there, then you can leave room. Yeah.
Well, there must have been like a 2-minute timer. It's bringing everybody back in 1 minute. That's okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Then we can keep them open.
Yeah, now I can't move into a breakout room, I guess, because that timer went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a timer.
Yeah.
That's okay. Do it again.
Yeah.
Let me just make sure that there's no participants, like actual participants that need to be moved. Hang on. Yeah, there are.
Oh, well.
Okay, so was everyone able to see the breakout rooms and to join rooms? Yeah. Oh, I think we're going back again. Here we go.
I don't even know what happened. They just reset for another minute. Funny.
That's strange.
It's really strange. Okay. Alex, did you press a button, Alex?
No, I didn't. All of a sudden, I went again to the room. What
We have a
happened?
breakout room ghost.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully this will, why don't we return everybody to the main
Yeah.
space? And
We will.
let's try, let's just make sure this isn't gonna happen in
Yeah,
the-
I'll just unclick the timer. There must be a timer clicked on the timer button must be clicked. So I'll just go into options and we'll unclick that timer button.
Sure.
So, okay. So go in, breakout rooms.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
Countdown after closing breakout room. Okay, let's just take out breakout rooms.
Yeah, I see it. It says breakout
Yeah.
rooms close
After 1
automatically
minute.
after 1 minute. Yeah, so
Yeah, okay.
let's
It's unclicked.
let's set that for 40.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Automatically return to the main page. Let me just check all the other settings, make sure that they're correct. Hang on.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Dan,
Yeah, okay, we're good.
one
awesome.
question. Agape asked
But
me a
where-
question.
Yeah.
He has his profile picture when he's not showing a video. I see other people use the same, and he asked me, would it be bad to jump as a facilitator into a breakout room with my image in there? It's almost the same as a video. What are
That's-
your thoughts on that?
That's okay. It's okay.
okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe for the online retreat, we'll get our avatar pictures looking a little more polished. But
Consistent.
for right
Yeah,
now,
right.
it's totally fine. Yeah.
All right.
Sure, I can take it off. That was my question. If it's easier just having the initials.
It's totally up to you. Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
And
I have
Sahar,
a question.
facilitator on your name, Sahar, please? Can you put facilitator?
Say that. Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. So how do I get into this breakout room? I don't even see any option for that.
Okay, so like right now you won't see it because there's no breakout rooms. Oh, wait a minute. No, you should see the room. You should see the
Where is that
Should I-
option?
yeah. So
What are you
don't-
looking for, Zeus? Tell me again what you're looking for.
Well, okay, the exercise right now we're trying to do is trying to figure out how to go into a breakout room, and I can't
Right.
figure it out.
We just closed all of them. We're gonna do it. Do we have time to do a really another quick one? How long do we have, Dan?
yeah, let's do it. We're
Do it
we're gonna-
again.
Yeah,
How-
we'll shut it down like for at 1:45. So we've got about 7 minutes, so we're good.
Okay, I'm gonna
Where's
open
that
all the
button?
Here we go. It's on the 3 dots.
Yeah.
So if you look at the 3 dots, Zoo, you should be able to go into breakout rooms.
So I'll find Zoo and make sure she's.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Touch.
If you go like on all the options, because it's on the phone, it's harder for you. But if you go scroll, you should be
I
able
scroll.
to at some point breakout room on your phone.
I don't see it. Meeting session? Is it under meeting settings?
It's under more.
More is meeting settings or disconnect audio or cancel. There's only 3 options for me.
Okay,
Uh,
it could be so different devices are different. So it might be there might be
Somewhere
it
else?
might say more settings or meeting settings, something like that. If you click on whatever area where it's showing hidden stuff, there should be an
Like-
option.
Whiteboard? No. Whiteboard? Whiteboard? What is that? Oh. Caption?
No, no, it should be.
Uh,
Do you see 3
what?
dots anywhere?
Well, the 3 dots more shows meeting settings, disconnect audio or cancel, and under meeting settings, I got meeting topic, always show meeting controls, touch on my appearance. Okay, I'll do that. Show name when participants join, show none video participants, show self view, stop incoming video, show my connected time. That's all I have.
What kind of a phone do you have? Just I'm
That-
gonna watch.
I have an iPhone.
Okay.
Oh, it may be that you are not set up as a co-host. Let me if we go back into the main room, let me just double check. It's possible that you're just not set up as a co-host.
No, she is. She is. I see it. She is a co-host.
Okay, she is.
Yeah.
How-
Let me
how-
just.
Google Drive.
Okay.
Green photos.
I would find a room that doesn't have that many people in it. So I would
Okay.
like, you could bring up a thing and then you can see how many people. Dan, can you make me the host instead of you? So that I can help people and not, because it's difficult for me to find you when you're in the rooms and send you a message. Can you just make me the host? Can I just take mutiny of the ship? You're muted.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, I'll make you the host.
Perfect.
So Zoo is still having some troubles with finding. So I'm wondering if has everybody made a co-host here? Let me just. So I see Michael.
Well, for except Michael, because he bumped out and backed in. And so see, I
Yeah.
can't fix that when you're,
I see.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so I'm going to make you the actual host.
I think once she comes back to the main room, she may be able to do it because I noticed the 3 buttons under the more disappeared once I was in a breakout room.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's the join button. So on the, when you bring up the square of the, you can't see yourself at the top, but on the right-hand side, you can see the blue join buttons. So
I
Zoo,
see a leave button,
a which?
a leave button, the red leave button.
Can you
But
click
at
on
some point,
So
well, if I leave, I won't see you.
No, can you
No,
just click on the button that's the 3 dots and click on the breakout rooms? It should bring up a square on your thing so that you can see all the breakout rooms and stay in this room at the same time. So if you find the
Well-
3 dots,
Well, the 3 dots is security and meeting settings.
okay,
and
go
I
into
read
meeting.
everything.
Yeah, go into meeting settings.
Okay, and then what?
Are you on your iPhone, Zoo?
Yes.
Okay,
So
I just needed to know what
um,
apparatus.
just one quick thing, Agape, if you're there. So I tried to make Tayama the co-host, but I accidentally made you the host. Or I tried to make Tayama the host, but I made you the host because things were jumping around. So I've lost the ability to make anybody host now. So
it's my retreat now. Okay.
it's yours.
No.
You're taking control.
I will
Yeah. So
I'll pass it to her.
that would be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I still haven't figured out this joining.
Yeah, I'm just
breakout
I'm
room.
Googling it, Zoo, so that you can see, because the iPhone is a little bit different.
And also it showed up this square with
So
the
it's in the
4
settings.
options, and then it showed up for a second. And I pressed on it and I saw all the breakout room and it says join, and then now it's gone. Like I had a glimpse.
So
I don't know where it is anymore.
so
And
Agape,
I don't know.
According to Google, Zoo, it's like you got to select breakout room options on the top left corner. Can you see that?
There's like the camera and the volume.
On the top left corner?
Yeah, whiteboard, events, apps, contacts, notes. Like I don't ditch the 40-minute limited. No, I'm like somewhere else.
so why don't we
And
wrap
I don't
it
know how to, I don't even know.
for right now? Why don't we take a little break and Zoo and me and Tayama and Alex maybe we'll figure this
Yeah.
out. But everyone can take a little break right now, and we'll be resuming with the participants at 2 o'clock. So 15 minutes.
Do
Thanks.
not
everyone.
leave the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't leave the meeting. And Dan, I'm not a co-host anymore, so something with all that, whatever happened.
Yeah, Agape, I think, made you host, so you're good.
Okay, it's saying that you're host, but
I see you as host.
okay,
see
perfect.
Maybe
So we're both
maybe
hosts.
we're both host.
Okay, great. That's perfect. That's even more perfect to have 2 hosts.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's help Zoo.
All
I'm
right.
like looking at all my options.
Okay, we're gonna just Google it. How to see
Thank you.
breakout
But
room
the thing,
on iPhone.
6 SE.
Because it looks very different on the phone than computers. Okay,
Yeah.
hang on.
You are going to need Zoom version 5.3 or
Okay, do you have Zoom? Is your Zoom updated, Zoo, to 5.3?
Probably not. I don't know. Should I update it now?
Yeah, it says that you won't be able to, if you don't have 5.3 or more, you won't be able to see the breakout room options. So maybe that's the problem.
Okay, so how do I update my
Go into your
Zoom?
Zoom, go into your like your account, into your settings, into Zoom. So go into the app.
Okay, am I not in the app, the Zoom app?
Yeah, is there, hang on, you know what? I'm gonna go into my Zoom on my phone. Do you have a computer, Zoo, or no?
My computer is it needs to be plugged in at all times, and I'm not at home right now.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh, right, because you were
Yeah.
partying for your birthday last night. Fun.
I
So
was having a band practice